some of the dark horse programs, dark horse teams maybe in 2025. I could sell myself that in the best of best case scenarios, team like Florida surprises people and makes a run at a playoff spot. Again, we're talking best case. You told me Auburn was just going to flip a switch this year, find a way to win a bunch of close games, not turn the ball over a whole lot. Jackson Arnold, goes in Auburn like Bo Nix waited to get to Oregon to do. Yeah, I could buy that. Illinois is going to be a dark horse, but shouldn't be. What are some of the teams you look at and you say, yeah, I know it may surprise some people, but that wouldn't shock me if they were the 9 seed this upcoming year?
Yeah, I would be on you with Florida because I think DJ Lagway is that guy. I think we've all believed that Billy's a good coach for a long time. So if some other things come together, they're able to build a little bit more depth, maybe through the portal, maybe some younger kids step up, can give them quality reps. South Carolina might be one of those teams as well, just because I think Lenore Sellers is a difference maker. He's the guy that can take over a game, as is Dylan Stewart. Now, is Dylan Stewart going to see extra attention because he's not going to have Kyle? He's not going to have 3 quality, probably long-time NFL defensive tackles on that team. And he's not going to have 2 veteran inside linebackers that can make up for a lot. Probably veteran secondary is going to have to be replaced. But I don't think we give Shane Beamer enough credit for what he's done in the portal. He hasn't hit the home runs with the names, but he's gotten guy after guy after guy to come in and be very productive and help. And then, too, I would probably go back to Lane Kiffin and Ole Miss. I mean, we saw a little bit of Austin Simmons last year. He looks like he has all the ability. He looks like he has all the talent. Now, is he going to be able to run the offense and manage the offense and operate the offense and be the gamer that Jackson Dart was? We don't know that yet, but they're going to have talent on the outside. The offensive line has been able to be circumvented for years now. I don't need that to be great, but is the defensive line going to be close to what it was last year? And that's what's going to happen if Ole Miss is going to make that push, maybe make that run. I'm with you on Illinois. I think Brett's done a great job there. You lose a couple wide receivers, but you've got the offense in place now, and I think you've got some experience coming back. He's always going to be a run-the-first line of scrimmage coach. You know that. So they're going to be able to be competitive in that league. I think that's one that I would absolutely look at. But the weird part about the conversation, Josh, was you and I usually sit here this time of year or 3 or 4 or 6 months from now, and we can easily rattle off 6, 8 teams. We're like, oh, they could do it. They could do it. Now you have to sit there and search and kind of figure out who these teams are. Like McElroy brought up Clemson right out of the gate. And the more you think about it, you say, yeah, Klubnik actually looked great this year. And they're going to have some good skill back. That defensive line, that front 7 really should be good. But who else in the ACC is kind of creeping up? If Miami with Carson Beck, probably back in that mix. But there doesn't feel like a lot of those teams that have sort of been inching toward this and now all of a sudden are ready to make that playoff run.
Well, that's the difference. So we got to define what dark horse is. I wrote that on the sheet of paper. What's a dark horse? Because what you're doing there is you're letting your mind go to the old way of thinking, which is a dark horse equals they could make the playoff, which means they're one of the 4 remaining teams, which means if they made it that far, they could compete for a title. Now, you've got teams like SMU this past year, like Boise, who are going to be playoff teams that 100 times out of 100 have no shot of winning the whole thing. So are we talking about a dark horse, at least, I mean, brain to brain, you have to decide this for yourself, but are we talking about a dark horse as that team could be the 10 seed? Or is it still, yeah, they could make a run and win a title? Because I could sell you on Texas Tech, for example, went 8-5 last year, got a new defensive coordinator, number 3 portal class, they addressed the defense. That team could be Arizona State of next year. In fact, nothing shocks me in the Big 12. Are they going to make a run and win it all? No, of course they're not. But maybe that's a dark horse now. I don't know.
And I think, too, we're always going to focus on, the teams that maybe have a similar path to what SMU, Arizona State, teams that you named, Boise, had this year as our dark horse teams to even get in the playoff. And then what could they do once they make the playoff? And that's where I think my opinion on this whole thing has really changed, is seeing what it has taken for Ohio State and Notre Dame to advance. It's going to be really hard for me to take some of those teams and say, oh, yeah, I can see them in the national championship game or winning a national championship. That's going to be almost impossible in my mind moving forward for the next few years unless something seriously changes and those teams do advance in different ways. If you look at just some of the teams that let us down this year, Tennessee obviously was one that I was completely wrong on, fell on their face in the playoff. And you look at, okay, were they maybe a little too one-dimensional? Were they physical enough? We thought they were, they weren't. And then, like you mentioned, with SMU, if you're overly reliant on one guy and he turns the ball over a couple of times early, can you overcome that in other areas? Probably just went too far down that path too early in the game against a good football team that could throttle back and then find a way to win. So, and then are you going to have teams that are just saying it as plain and simple as I can, as football smart as Notre Dame is, that are as football game savvy as Notre Dame is, that understand situational football, that don't feel like they have to go throw for 400 yards, that don't try to make every tackle 5 yards behind the line of scrimmage. They just play to win the game. And that's what team football really is. And let's be honest, a lot of the teams that we define as good or great a lot of the times are not what Notre Dame is this year. They just have better players. So what kind of team could be formed like that could maybe make that run? It's hard to look at it right now from a distance, especially with another portal window that's going to open, and say I'm confident that this team or this team could do it. I'll throw another one at you. What about UNLV?
Yeah.
I mean, Barry's already built that roster. He's got talent there. Alex Orji is a magnificent fit for a Dan Mullen offense. I mean, that's exactly what Mullen needs, what he can use. I mean, he took Tyrannosaurus Rex at Mississippi State and made him go down there and score points with him. I mean, he's taking guys that haven't had great passing acumen before and been able to move the football. So maybe that's one that's sort of on the outside that you look at. One other one that I think that I would probably throw out there for you, going back to the ACC, would be Cal. Just because of what Justin Wilcox has done, the style of football that they play, the physicality that they offer, and another coach that has had big portal wins for him, but not big portal wins in the rankings. Like the people from a distance don't look at it and say former 4-star, former 5-star, but guys that fit what they do that have come in and been productive.